All right, another edition of Who Got Knocked Out of the Playoffs, and we're going to talk about them. I was like, I know I didn't name the other ones that, but maybe we'll rename. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's talk about them Denver Nuggets got knocked out of the playoffs. Now, when earlier in the year, I suggested that, hey, I still feel like, they got to make some moves to just kind of, bring in somebody, trade for somebody. They decided just to fire their coach and their GM. Now, I was like, that doesn't seem like it was such a bad thing, but also, to be honest, I was like, there were some things that I think Adelman did fine, and also things where it's like, they would have had a better coach, it might have been a little bit better. I was like, but I think Adelman did a better job of playing somewhat, trying to find some other people on the bench to play. Problem is, Mike Malone kind of right that some of them dudes just, Now you can say that also because Mike Malone ain't play them to get them ready to this point, but also they wasn't showing enough to even get to this point. But I think that's also where the GM has came at fault, where it's like you have let players go. Brown, Caldwell, cool, but you didn't bring nobody else in. Now I will say that Braun, or Brown, I was like, his name Brown, even though it's spelled Braun, it's really aggravating. He did to me show really signs of improvements. I was like, he became one of their primary defenders. I was like, his 3-point shot, I was like, improved, even though he still is very much a better slasher type of getting to the basket kind of guy. I was like, so I think they did, but I was like, but Malone was playing him anyway, from even when he was sort of got drafted anyway. That I was like, but he was one of those older rookies that you could sort of play and plug in and stuff like that. As far as the rest of the team, I look like they might lose Russell Westbrook because I was like, he probably paced his veteran minimum contract, and I think it's funny that people still sort of picked at him toward the, I was like at the end when I was like, yeah, but he also was the reason they was in a lot of games. Gordon showed up, Gordon came to play, but when you was missing Michael Porter Jr., I was like, Russell Westbrook did play really well in a lot of the games. I was like, from the Clippers series to the Thunder series as well, I was like, he still had the same weaknesses, but I think on the team with the Joker, I was like, we did see that he probably fulfilled his best potential this part of his career. And I was like, to me, I was like, I think that a guy like that, you can never just teach. I was like, it's hard to teach that level of let's go, that intensity and all that other stuff. There's times where it's like you could see where the decline, where he's missing layups, where he wouldn't have did that 6 years ago or whatever. But to me, I'm like, he still is a veteran. I think that it's like maybe he done moved from the part where he's not your sixth man anymore to maybe your eighth man, depending on who you have at point guard and stuff. But also, also how everybody sort of dogs on Russell Westbrook. It's not his fault that the team that he's on, or the team that he was on previously with the Clippers, kind of stink to the point, I was like, where they don't have anybody in front of him either. If there was other people better than him where he could be the eighth guy, where y'all think he should be, then there would be, but there's not. So he has to play at a, there's still, he's on teams where they're still having to depend on him at a high level in a way that's the criticism y'all are giving him. Think about it. He shouldn't really be getting the criticism of it, but it's because he's in the position where he has to actually be that high of a value, because who else is you going to get? That's sort of the problem, is that it's the expectation you place it on him shouldn't be there, except for who else are you going to place it on? At this point, you're really just kind of just crushing him just because he's Russell Westbrook, more so than actually what he's doing. Because I was like, what he's doing, if he's giving you that as a eighth guy, you're pretty much oh, that's actually pretty good for most eighth to play. I mean, 6 to 8 of well, I would say 8 because 6 man normally is that's worth an award and all that other stuff. But I was the fact that I was he could still pretty much get you nearly a triple double or whatever. And I was like, depending on who that is, depending on if it got significance. If it's Jokic, we love the hell out of it. When it was Russell Westbrook, it was cool for 2 seasons, and now you're over here. You're just like, you're stat padding, sir. And you get out of my face. But he might go. I was like, Aaron Gordon, I was like, they're going to have to pay him and give him the big bucks as well. So that means that somebody has to go. Now, I seen somebody talking about like it's between 2 people. To me, it's very obvious. The same person I sort of thought that should. I was like, going to have to go. It's going to have to Michael Porter Jr. I was like Jamal Murray. I was like, there was that stuff with the Olympics and we seen him with the contract and stuff. And hey, you sort of got to pay him for that because he is your second best player to Jokic. Like, Aaron Gordon is not. I was like, it's not just like he is really. This really feels almost like the Clay and Draymond thing, where it's like both of them are essential to the team, and depending on which way you want to look at it, will tell you who's really the second best player. I was like Gordon being able to play defense. I was like work off the ball just as much. This year, I was like, he actually decided to be more aggressive than what he has been in the previous season with the Nuggets. Where it seemed like he almost had to be like, you got to sort of be like the Aaron Gordon from Orlando, where it's like, you got to be the guy tonight. You got to pick it up. You got to score 20-something points. You can't do some of this all the time where just like, I'm not going to score, but I'm going to do parts of my job with the rebound and stuff like that. Like, nah, we're going to need you to score, buddy. Jamal is always someone that I feel like I was like, this whole thing where like Jokic had to play with an all-star kind of thing. I think some of that sometimes is overblown, just like the same way like Dame never played with an all-star before he got with Giannis. He didn't play with an all-star, but I was like, CJ McCollum was like all-star caliber type of player. And then like a lot of times he would get hurt before the all-star game to where it's like he couldn't be in the running. I was like, the same thing to me with like Jamal Murray. I was like, there have been times where it's like he's been close. And I was like, to me, I was like, and I've seen like people talking about like they was in the East. And I was like, oh, if they was in the East. And I was like, this sort of makes a difference is that in the West, you got to play so top notch, especially as a guard. Like, who you putting them over? Luka, Shea. I was like, De'Aaron Fox at times. I was like, there's probably some other people or whatever. Ant, that's another guard. Steph, I was like, the Jimmy count as a guard. I was like, he had to been there to count. But you get what I'm saying. I was like Booker, like there's so many other people that I'm like he gotta play really astronomical. But it's like in the East, Maxey, Hero this year, but really Maxey, Halliburton, Dame. You see what I'm saying? You can work them in there. There's nobody. I was like Garland and Mitchell now. So, but we're looking at past years. Anyway, beside my point. I was like Michael Porter Jr. is the guy to me. I was like he's the weak link because he getting paid a max contract, and when I didn't think they should have gave him a max contract for basically high-end three-point production. That's what I really feel like. But if he's not really shooting any of those shots, he's really just out on the court. I was like, he can be a really good rebounder. But I was like, but sometimes he waned. He should. I was like, at 6'10" and stuff like that. And I was like, you would think that he would have the athleticism and stuff like that, and he just doesn't really use it. I was like, he's not really defending the fourth like that. I was like, he's sort of one of those last contracts of paying people to be really good 3-point shooters before everybody else started rounding out their game to shoot threes now. So, like when it was like Kyle Korver or like that, where it's like you could pay for that high-end 3-point shooting because there's nobody else that can hit at those the same clip. Where like now, I was like, they're shooting so many threes that you're going to sort of just shoot at a high clip now. And I was like, not that the people aren't good, but I was like, now it's just part like you have, like they sort of make it where you have to be, otherwise you're not playing. He's still young enough, and I was like, to me, with the right team, I feel like he could go to that he could be he could be a trade piece. I was like, that's what I think it is. Like, cause what you want to try to do is see if you can flip him for either someone on his same level that might give you a little bit more, or so maybe you could get like 2 or 3 pieces, because I was like, you got to have the money matches, this whole apron thing and stuff like that. Um, to me, I was like, whether Westbrook stays or goes, to me they need another guard, whether that's a point guard or a backup guard. I mean, like another like 2 guard or combo guard or whatever. And you also need somebody to back up Jokic. I was like, DeAndre Jordan, I was like, they really used him in the pinch when Jokic wasn't able to play, but other than that, they didn't really use him at all. So it's like, to me, you want to go pretty much a more high-end scale. I think someone like Peyton Wallace, I think he's someone that could stick around, because to me, he could be sort of like Christian Brown, where it's like, play defense. We've seen he can. I was like, he's athletic enough and he plays along the wing enough that I was like, I feel like he's really good at, especially when you got to spell minutes for Aaron Gordon and stuff like that. He do got to improve on the offensive end, but I was like, with this team with Jokic, I was like, you don't fully need that, but that's something that you can concentrate on. Everything else is sort of really up for grabs, and so. To me, I was like, Denver really just needs to figure out what to trade Michael Porter Jr. for, and then also to get depth. I was like, we're seeing sort of in the NBA where it's like they're trying to do the whole thing where they're like the whole thing about this is depth or whatever like that. And I was like, it's always been about depth. There's always been, you always want like just because 2 of the teams are going like 10 deep, you really just need you need 8 dudes. You need somebody to spell your star. You're a couple star players. You need someone to spell that, and you need somebody else that can also just come off the bench and do something dynastic. That's what you need. You need a 6 man of some sort. Denver doesn't really have any of that. So I was like, to me, would it be sort of a pipe dream? But I think it could. But I was like, I think it could actually work if Denver decided to trade Michael Porter Jr. and see if you could try to get Kevin Durant. I don't think it would take crazy amount, because Kevin Durant is on, tail end of his career. I was like, he still got a year left, I think, on this deal at least. So like Michael Porter Jr., I was like, you might not even really have to throw in a first round pick to me. Really, I was like, I think you probably will, just because I was like, because you traded for Kevin Durant, it just looks good. But I was like, to me, the young age, they're both injury prone in some sense. I was like, Michael Porter Jr. had been a while for him back and stuff like that, but he had little knick-knack injuries here and there and stuff like that. Kevin Durant, but I think he fits more this. I think he fits this team, and I think he fits their timeline as well too. Because I was like, even though he's 36, I was like, Jokic is like 30 or something like that. I was like, Jamal Murray is an older, I think he's only 20, but he's older than that due to his injuries. Aaron Gordon is also around like he's in 30. It fits the timeline. They need another scorer, another guy that can get his basket. He doesn't hog up the ball or anything like that. He will work well with Jokic. I was like, he could get to the basket. I was like, he could still shoot a 3. I think it works out fine to where it's like, I think they could trade with no problem. To me, I was like, I don't really know other player that I feel like is the jump to where you just feel like you get off of Michael Porter Jr. Because I was like, then you were talking about a collection of players. Now, if you want to do something like that, I was like, even though he played pretty well this year with Portland and Denny, I was like, I'm not saying trading for Denny. I was actually going to say, I was like, getting a good collaboration of players. You get Brogdon, I was like, is he there or is he with Washington? I was like, either way, I was like, but Robert Williams, because I was like, they got too many centers there. So getting Robert Williams there, I think is good. I was like, he doesn't have to start, so you don't have to rely on him, because he does get injury prone himself, but he is somebody to give good backup. I was like, he's a different type of guy. To me, you could also play him and Jokic at the same time, because Jokic can shoot the 3 and stuff like that, so you can play big man ball in that type of way. I was like, whatever team he's on. Malcolm Brogdon, I thought as well, because I was like, I'm pretty sure he's on Portland. I was like, I don't want Portland. But I was like, combo guard, so he can play the 1 or 2. So, I mean, he can play with Jamal Murray or doesn't play with him. I was like, he can run the offense. He's a veteran guard. He's been around. He's been on playoff teams and stuff like that. To me, that's a good backup. That I was like, won't also probably cost much either as well. And I was like, if you did want to trade him to, like I said, Portland, that's at least like 2 pieces. I was like, maybe, if you get Denny. All right, so with the Nuggets, I was like, if it's weird of where this is placed. I probably just placed it somewhere in the video because I forgot to add this. But Michael Porter Jr., I was like, if you got rid of him, say you trade him for KD or whatever like that, say any way you get rid of him. When I was talking about Robert Williams, Michael Brogdon, I was like being the pickups. Another person I wanted to say, I was like, shouldn't come at a really big expense, but I think we can play really well on this team, is DeMar DeRozan. I was like, I understand that his stint with the Bulls didn't go the way it felt that great. I was like, also with the Kings, it just sort of floundered. That almost seemed like it got one of your dudes, De'Aaron Fox, gone as well. But I do think that DeMar DeRozan would fit with this team because I was like, he gives you basically what he gives you a lot of what Russell Westbrook does, but I still think at a better clip. Like I was like, he can still hit the midi. I was like, if he shoots the three, you're not over here just being like, oh, you're not doing that. You're like over here like I missed. Like it's just a regular shot. You're not afraid that it's like, oh, it's gonna go in or it's gonna hit somebody in the face like that. You're not feeling all that. I was like still in transition. He's really good. I was like he still is able to hit really contested shots. He can still get his own shot. I was like he can still slash. I was like and with Jokic, I think he really fits. I was like, I think he fits starting. I think he fits on the bench. I was like, I don't think that I was like, if they just get him and kept the team as it is, I was like, I feel like he might come off the bench. But I was like, but if you get rid of Michael Porter Jr., he's starting or whatever. And I think he works with this unit because I was like, he's not. I was like, you don't have to. I was like, he's not a liability of like, where you got to play like Aaron Gordon at certain spots, something like that. So I was like, to me, he would be another good pickup for them to get. To be honest, that I was like, won't cost them a lot. And I was like, to me, I was like, they need good veteran dudes off the benches. I was like, to me, them getting young, unless you get one of the older like dudes out the draft, don't do it. That doesn't make sense. But I was like, I think he could really be a good piece for this squad. See, I said somebody like Brogdon. I was like, not Brogdon. Bogdanovich, who went to the Clippers, and I was like, while he didn't really have a good end with the Clippers, and I was like, that's still somebody that could pick up because I think he might be on his like end of his deal or whatever. Is the fact that it's like that's Jokic's boy from the Olympics, and I'm like, who's going to get the best out of him than somebody he already plays with? So that's what my thinking is right there. I don't think that would be a bad pickup, regardless. Because I was like, you get another shooter. I was like, you fill up your backup guard spot in general. I was like, you fill up your backup center, and I was like, then you can still pick up some small pieces here and there. Because I was like, there are people. I was like I said, with this new apron and stuff like that, a lot of people that used to get big contracts aren't getting big contracts anymore. So it's like you'll be able to pick up somebody else in the meantime and find some other diamonds in the rough or whatever like that. You don't know who's going to get split from the team and stuff like that. But I think that's what Denver had to do. I was like, they're not really that far away from title contention. I was like, I just think that at the end of the day, that because like if you get rid of Jamal Murray, if he's not going, then it's really easy to sort of beat them. And I was like, you need at least 3 scores in this game. I was like, that's why sometimes when people was like, it's a big 3 and we're over. And I was like, it depends on how you describe it. But anyway, that's just my thought. Anyway, what do you think that's up for Denver? What do they need to do? Some of the other picks. When they tell me some players that I was like, I might be like, oh, that's a very, very good fit. That works for them. Stuff like that. People I'm not even thinking of or whatever, kind of just because I'm like, there's a whole bunch of teams and a whole bunch of players. I was like, they'll figure it out. But you get the archetype and what they need. You get to understand. Anyway, let me know what you think. Till then, peace. We out.